I stood at the top of the stairs, gripping the railing until my knuckles went white. My wife and my only daughter were in the library below, laughing. But they weren't laughing at a joke. They were laughing at me. "The dosage needs to be higher, Mom," my daughter said, her voice as cold as ice. "He's still having moments of clarity. If he looks at the books, he'll see the millions we've moved." My wife's reply was even worse. "Don't worry, darling. The doctor is ready to sign the papers. By next week, your father will be legally declared incompetent. We'll have the empire, and he'll have a bed in a locked ward." For months, I thought I was dying of a mysterious illness. I didn't know I was being poisoned by the two people I loved most. They thought I was a ghost already, but they forgot one thing. I built this empire from nothing, and I know exactly how to burn it down, with them inside. Arthur Sterling was a man who understood the absolute value of time. For over 40 years, he had built Sterling International from a small, dusty two-room office into a global powerhouse that dominated the world stage. He was the architect of his own destiny, a man of iron will and absolute unshakable integrity. His life from the outside looked like a dream. He had a beautiful, elegant wife, Lydia, a woman he had adorned with the finest diamonds and silks for over 3 decades. And he had a daughter, Clara, his only child, whom he had meticulously groomed to be his successor. Arthur thought his legacy was safe in their hands. He truly believed the love he gave them was a shield against the greed of the world. But as Arthur turned 68, a dark, invisible shadow began to fall over his health. It started with sudden dizzy spells, blurred vision, and a persistent, crushing fatigue that no amount of rest could cure. His doctors were puzzled. Every expensive test came back inconclusive, leaving him weaker with every passing day. Lydia, ever the devoted, loving wife, took over his daily care with an intensity that touched his heart. She was always there, at his bedside, with a glass of cool water and his daily pills, her hand steady, her smile comforting, her eyes filled with what he thought was deep concern. "Rest now, Arthur," she would whisper softly, smoothing his silver hair with her gentle fingers. "Clara and I have everything under control at the office. You've worked enough for 10 lifetimes. It's time to let us take care of you now. Just sleep. Just let go." Arthur trusted her completely. Why wouldn't he? She was his partner, his rock. But in the quiet, lonely hours of the deep night, as he lay in his oversized, empty bed, he felt like he was slipping away, not into old age, but into a heavy, artificial fog. A fog that felt designed and deliberate, like a trap closing in around him. One rainy Tuesday morning, Arthur woke up much earlier than usual. The medication Lydia had given him the night before usually kept him in a deep, dreamless sleep until long after noon. But his body, a machine built on decades of hard work and resilience, was finally starting to fight back against the poison. Through the heavy, suffocating fog in his mind, he heard voices coming from the library downstairs. They were hushed, urgent, and filled with a sharp, cold excitement that chilled him to the very bone. He moved slowly, agonizingly, his legs feeling like leaden weights that didn't belong to him. He gripped the banister for support, each step a silent, painful struggle against the gravity of his own house, until he reached the library door, which was left slightly ajar. It was Lydia and Clara, and with them was Marcus, the company's chief legal counsel, a man Arthur had treated like a son for 20 years. "The dosage needs to be higher, Mom," Clara was saying, her voice cold, professional, and utterly devoid of any emotion. "He's still having moments of clarity. He asked me about the quarterly reports yesterday. If he looks at the books, even for a second, he'll see the diverted funds in an instant." "Don't worry, darling. Lydia's voice drifted out, sounding more like a predator than a wife. The doctor I hired is prepared to sign the final competency papers on Friday. By next week, your father will be legally declared incapacitated. You will be the acting CEO, and I will have full control of the Sterling Trust. And what about the house? Marcus asked, his voice oily and thin, the sound of a man who had already sold his soul. The house is already listed privately. Lydia laughed, a sound that Arthur had once found beautiful, but now sounded like the scraping of broken glass. Once he's in the specialized care facility, we won't need this mausoleum anymore. We'll be in the penthouse in Paris by autumn. Arthur stood frozen in the hallway, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He wasn't dying of a disease. He was being systematically poisoned by the only two people he had ever truly loved. Arthur didn't burst into the room. He didn't scream or cry out in pain. He had spent 40 years winning corporate wars against the most ruthless men in the world. He knew that a direct attack without ammunition was a death sentence. He crawled back to his room, inch by inch, his mind racing through the slowly lifting fog. He realized now, with a terrifying clarity, that every pill Lydia gave him was a brick in his own tomb. That morning, when she brought him his water and his medicine, he pretended to swallow it, but tucked the bitter pill under his tongue with practiced ease. As soon as she left the room, he spat it out into a small silk handkerchief. He did this for 3 days. With each passing hour, the fog in his brain began to lift, replaced by a cold, hard rage. His vision sharpened. His strength began to return, but he kept the act alive. He shuffled his feet when they were watching. He slurred his speech. He played the part of the dying lion to perfection. In the secret of his own study, late at night, he used an old encrypted laptop he had hidden in his floor safe years ago. He contacted the one man Lydia and Clara had forgotten, Elias Vance. Elias was a retired private investigator and Arthur's oldest, most trusted friend. "Arthur? I heard you were at death's door," Elias said over the secure line, his voice filled with genuine worry. "I was," Arthur whispered, his voice trembling with a lethal mix of rage and resolve. "But I'm coming back, Elias, and I need you to find out exactly where my money is going. Every cent Clara has diverted. Every contract Marcus has forged. I want the truth, and I want it all. And I want it now." The following week was a game of high-stakes theater. Lydia and Clara were busy, like vultures circling a dying animal planning Arthur's final intervention. They had invited the entire board of directors to the mansion, claiming they wanted to share the unfortunate news about Arthur's rapidly declining mental state. Arthur watched them through the hidden security cameras Elias had secretly installed while the family was out for an expensive celebration dinner. He watched his daughter practicing her sad face in the mirror over and over, making sure her tears looked real. He watched his wife drinking vintage champagne, celebrating a victory she hadn't yet won. Elias sent the report via an encrypted link. It was worse, far worse, than Arthur had ever imagined. Clara had been funneling millions into offshore accounts, not for the company's future, but to cover her massive losses in illegal high-stakes gambling. Lydia had been selling off Arthur's private art collection, replacing the masterpieces with high-quality forgeries that only a professional could spot. They weren't just taking over the company, they were gutting it from the inside out. "They think I'm a relic, Elias," Arthur said, looking at the evidence on the screen with eyes that were cold and dead. "They think you're a ghost, Arthur," Elias replied. "And in their minds, ghosts can't fight back." "They're wrong," Arthur smiled. a predatory expression that hadn't been seen since the day he took over his first rival. A ghost is exactly what I need to be, because you never see a ghost coming until it's already too late. The grand dining room was filled with the Sterling International Board of Directors. These were men and women Arthur had known for decades, now sitting in somber, respectful silence, as Lydia stood at the head of the table, dressed in black as if she were already a widow. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," Lydia said, dabbing a fake tear from her eye with a lace handkerchief. "It breaks my heart to say this, but my dear Arthur is no longer the man you knew. His dementia has progressed with terrifying speed. He's erratic, dangerous even to himself and others." Clara stepped forward, holding a stack of medical reports like a weapon. "We've had him evaluated by Dr. Aris, one of the best in the field. The results are clear. My father is mentally unfit to manage his own affairs, let alone a multi-billion-dollar corporation." "Is he here tonight?" one of the older board members asked, his voice sounding skeptical and uneasy. "He's upstairs resting," Clara said quickly, her eyes darting to the door. "The doctor has him under heavy sedation for his own safety and for his peace of mind. He doesn't even recognize us anymore." "Is that so?" The voice came from the doorway, clear, resonant, and absolute. It wasn't the voice of a dying man. It was a voice like thunder. The room turned as one. Arthur Sterling walked into the dining room with a presence that seemed to fill every corner of the house. He wasn't in pajamas. He wasn't in a wheelchair. He was in his finest bespoke suit, his posture perfect, his eyes burning with a terrifying lethal lucidity. Lydia's glass fell to the floor, shattering into 1,000 crystalline pieces. Clara's face turned the color of cold ash, her mouth hanging open in silent shock. "Arthur," Lydia stammered, her voice high and panicked. You should be in bed. You're confused. You don't know where you are." "I've never been more clear-headed, Lydia," Arthur said, walking slowly and deliberately to the head of the table. He looked at the board members, acknowledging each one with a firm, steady nod. "Gentlemen, ladies, I apologize for my family's dramatic performance. It seems my wife and daughter have been tragically misinformed about my health." "But the doctor's reports," Clara shouted, clutching the papers so hard they crumpled. "Dr. Aris said." "Dr. Aris is currently being questioned by the police," Arthur interrupted, his voice cold as ice. "He was very forthcoming about the massive bribes you paid him to falsify those reports, and the cocktails of sedatives my wife has been slipping into my drinks for months." The board members gasped, murmurs of outrage spreading like wildfire. Arthur leaned over the table, looking directly into Clara's terrified eyes. "And Clara, I've seen the offshore accounts. I've seen the gambling debts. I've seen the way you tried to sell the very soul of this company to pay for your own pathetic failures. This is a lie," Lydia screamed, her mask of the devoted wife finally slipping away, revealing the monster beneath. "You're paranoid. You're old and useless. We built this company too. We deserve this life. You deserve exactly what you've earned, Lydia," Arthur said softly, his voice almost a whisper, yet it commanded the entire room. He signaled to Marcus, the lawyer, but Marcus wouldn't look at Lydia. He was looking at the floor, his hands trembling. "Marcus realized that treason carries a very heavy price," Arthur explained. "He's been working for me for the last 48 hours to save his own skin. Every document you signed to divert funds, every forgery Clara made, every secret deal, it's all been logged. It's all in the hands of the authorities. Arthur turned to the board, his voice returning to its full CEO authority. I am calling for an immediate vote to remove Clara Sterling from all positions within this company, effective immediately. And I am initiating divorce proceedings against Lydia Sterling, based on attempted murder. The vote was unanimous, and it was over in seconds. Within minutes, security guards, Arthur's personal team, men he had trusted for years, entered the room. They escorted a screaming Lydia and a sobbing Clara out of the mansion, away from the diamonds, away from the silk, and away from the empire they tried to steal from the man who built it. The mansion was quiet once again. Arthur sat in his library, the same room where he had overheard his own death sentence just days before. He held a glass of water, pure, clean, safe water, and looked out at the city skyline as the sun began to set. He had his company back. He had his life back. But the victory felt hollow in his chest. He had learned the hardest lesson of all, that blood isn't always thicker than water, and that love can be the most dangerous weapon in the wrong hands. Elias Vance walked in, carrying a file and a small, knowing smile. The press is going crazy, Arthur. They're calling it the Sterling Resurrection. You're a legend now, more than ever. Arthur sighed, the weight of the betrayal finally settling on his shoulders. I'm not a legend, Elias. I'm just a man who realized that if you build an empire, you have to be prepared to defend it, even from the people you love. He stood up, walking to the window. The Sterling International lights were glowing bright in the distance, a testament to his survival. He had buried their ambitions, but he had kept his dignity. The poison was gone, the fog had lifted, and Arthur Sterling was finally truly home. Thank you for watching this tale of betrayal and ultimate justice on Revenge Insight. Arthur Sterling's story is a powerful reminder that greed can blind even those closest to us, but a strong will and a sharp mind can overcome even the darkest plots. What did you think of Arthur's calculated strike? Should he have given his daughter a second chance? Or did she get exactly what she deserved? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe that integrity should always prevail over deceit, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more epic revenge tales. Stay wise, stay strong, and always watch your back. Until next time.